This time, I'd like to call a regular meeting to the Wallingford Inland Wetlands Authority Commission to order. The date is Wednesday, April 3rd. The time is 7:05. Please join me in pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Caroline Reynes.
Eileen McKean.
Nick Kern.
Jim Vitale.
Deborah Phillips.
Michael Caruso.
Jeffrey Necchio.
Jim Heilman.
Aaron O'Hare, Environmental Planner.
Okay. We have a full slate tonight. That's great. So it'll be the 5 regular members to be voting tonight. We'll first do the minutes of the regular meeting of March 6th. Is there any comments regarding the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting on March 6, 2024 be accepted as submitted.
Second?
Second.
Call for a vote. Any Nick?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes. Going on to the special meeting of March 19th. Any comments regarding the March 19th meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of the special meeting on March 19th, 2024 be accepted as submitted.
Okay. Motion made. Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? No. Call for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to move the agenda around at the moment. I'm going to deal with 100 Barnes Road, which is application A24 2.2. And we have our peer review. George, Mr. Carter, will you sit up at that table? Yes, sir.
Andrew Whitehouse, representative for Caneschi Humes Architects, the applicant.
You got to speak more into the microphone.
Andrew Whitehouse, Caneschi Humes Architects, on behalf of the town of Wallingford, for the applicants. I'm here with Zac Giordina from
Zach Georgina, Giuliano Associates, located at 405 Main Street, Wallingford.
Okay, where we left off was you had redesigned the retention pond system with the standpipe. And I don't think you ever really got a chance to present that thing. So if you give us a short view of that improved plan that you submitted.
Check. Okay. So at this point, I'm sure the commission is very well reviewed with the files. So for the public record, what we have is a detention basin that was located at 100 Barnes Road, designed to handle the impervious increases. This basin, when originally designed, was designed based on test borings. There was no evidence of groundwater at the time. After installation, due to the extremely wet year and potential unknown groundwater interactions, we had groundwater feeding into this basin. It was being fed not only from the uphill cuts, but also from the footing drains for the installed buildings for the associated the two additional buildings for the police station use. As such, this basin continued to retain water constantly. It was being fed by groundwater locations. As such, we did not have the storm capacity, and that led to other S&E matters that have been dealt with through the actual construction company. So our solution to this problem is, we looked at several options, but the one we feel is the most direct is currently the water is all being tied in and collected in the basin. So rather than trying to approach it by rerouting various footing drains and installing curtain drains to try and collect the groundwater from getting to the basin, we should direct it where address it where it's already being directed. That would be by installing a perforated vertical standpipe. Essentially, by installing this, we would allow a restricted flow, so as groundwater enters the basin at a slow rate, it would be allowed and restricted to exit the basin as well at a slow rate. Now, these perforated standpipes, we're proposing a 2-foot diameter. It's about 4 feet high. We are going to be embaking it in gravel, which will allow for a lower maintenance in terms of not as much of a chance for the holes, the perforations to be plugged, so allowing for a lower maintenance approach, as well as protecting the standpipe itself. This will then have a low flow drain, a 6-inch pipe that will come out and exit through the basin and dump into an existing plunge pool that is handling a portion of the site as well as municipal stormwater. So by doing this, we're essentially allowing the groundwater to exit the basin as it enters the basin, allowing the intended capacity for stormwater flows. To this point, we did rerun the storm calculations, and we were able to meet the preconditioned hydrograph with what we're proposing. So we're not adversely increasing peak flows exiting the site.
Commissioners, any questions? None?
No.
Go ahead.
Am I correct in assuming that what you are planning to do is to maintain essentially a dry bottom by constant drainage, and that gives you the capacity of additional flows over the surface?
That is correct. So the basin, as originally proposed, was to be dry. It was to infiltrate and be a dry bottom basin. By installing this and addressing the groundwater flows as they enter the basin, it will return to its original intent, which is a dry bottom basin, allowing for infiltration and capacity.
Okay, now, with this application, and there was some issues that was surrounding the general area and the watersheds and the outlets, we chose to have a third-party review, or a review, peer review, not a third review, and Mr. Cotter was selected out of a list of bidders. So I'd like to hear his report that he has generated, and I think we've all had a chance to look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's George Cotter, CW International.
Name and address, or name.
2091 Highland Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut. I met with Chris Giuliano on this, and on site on the 19th with Aaron. We walked the area where the basin is, and went over, review of what had happened, how the condition of the basin. At the time, I think in Erin's report, she's added photographs of our observations. At the time I was there, the basin was half full. It appeared it had been half full for a significant time, meaning that the site had stabilized from the groundwater that was directed to the basin. I went through, and the history of it is this site was built in 1978. This property is a 9.2 acre parcel. 5.31 acres were developed, 43,000 square foot building, and 2 associated parking lots, one on the eastern side of the building, one on the western side. The property flows from Barnes Road, or grades from Barnes Road downhill slightly to the north, where at the north property line, which is the rear of the property, it slopes significantly down a steep slope into the ravine that with a brook course that goes down to North Main Street. A portion of Barnes Road is collected into the drainage system in the eastern parking lot. So you have an outlet pipe for the eastern parking lot and an outlet pipe existing presently for the western parking lot. As at the present time, the original design and what is out there now prior to this application and this project were two discharge pipes. One that the western one flowed down, the pipe extended down to the brook below at the stream level down the slope. The eastern one discharged about halfway down the slope. That has been observed in previous meetings with the commission. What they're intending to do now is to tie the standpipe in the basin with a 6-inch pipe down into the riprap plunge pool at the end of the eastern pipe on the slope. I asked Mr. Giuliano and Zachary if they could provide me with a precondition map showing the watershed and how each area discharged and where it discharged, and then a post-development one. And that was part of a submission by Zachary and the Giuliano Associates. I also attached copies to my report just so that when you read the report, you had their two maps. And what it shows is the developed area was 5.3 acres. The upland area that discharged to the eastern storm drain pipe was approximately 3.72 acres, which included the building, and the western pipe was 1.61 acres. And in his post-condition hydraulic map, he shows the changes that were in effect of directing a portion of the stormwater to the basin. That turned out to be 1.21 acres. So part of the developed area for the eastern parking lot and part of the developed area for the western parking lot drainage area has been reduced to flow to the detention basin. What he has provided for, and I ran an independent analysis using a different program than they did, and in it I concurred with flows and also the height that it would reach in the basin during a 100-year event, which means we still had freeboard to the emergency spillway. By directing that 1.21 acres, we have reduced the direct discharge to the brook. It is now going to the basin, and with the standpipe in there, we have a metered flow during storm events that will significantly reduce the peak that's being directed to it from the 1.21 acres. So in talking to Giuliano's office, we were able to agree on some things, recommendations that I added to it, which was stone around the pipe for prevention of clogging of the pipe holes in the perforated pipe, and also a riprap case around that to protect the stone from being dislodged away during storm events. The net effect of it is that you now have a basin can hold 20,000 cubic feet that will discharge at low events and will also knock down the peak discharge during significant storm events. And the net effect is in my analysis, at a 2-year storm, we had basically the same discharge from the property as we did in the precondition. And in a 100-year storm, we got a 10%, I calculated a 10% reduction in peak flow from the property. And it should be understood that during any development, there is more impervious surface, there is more water discharging from the parcel. But the design requirements that we try as engineers is to mitigate the peak flow so that it's reduced to a level that can be handled downstream after the project is developed. And to that effect, I believe that the basin design with the standpipe will have an effect to reduce the peak flows during storm events beyond the 2-year storm, so that there will be less water, peak water coming off this property during storm events. The basin will also pass the low flow, which in my opinion also provides water to the wetland in the ravine below and the stream course and the associated wetlands adjacent. During most of the year, you'll have a very small amount of water being discharged on a continuous basis, and I think that's a good point for the wetlands. The soils here, identified by the soil scientist, were Weathersfield soils, and in my experience, and I yield to Mr. Heilman on geology, but in my experience in dealing with Weatherfield soils, they got a fairly permeable layer that is 30 to 60 inches deep, and beyond that, it's a tight soil, and that's why you've seen the amount of groundwater breakout in the excavation areas on this property, because we've had continuous storm events over the last year, since the middle of last year, producing a high groundwater level in the substa B horizon, which is the layer from the ground surface down 30, 40 inches. Observations of seepage there above the basin were also observed during the walk on the 19th. So I've analyzed the basin. I made some recommendations. I also asked if we could put a swale in the bottom of the basin on the easterly side where the slope, high side of the basin, that will allow for any water that is continually to seep into the basin to be able to direct it to the area where the standpipe is and the depressed area where the outlet pipes are a little bit of a plunge pool. That way it can be maintained as a dry basin, even if we do have seepage from the slope above. If the commission would have any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Commissioners, questions? Carolyn, Ally, Dick, Debbie,
No.
Mike,
No questions.
Jeff, Jimmy, Aaron,
Yes, I don't know how much.
microphone.
Unfortunately, I handed out the environmental planner's report tonight because there was so much coming down in the last week on this project, including up to this afternoon. So, but I know you haven't had a chance to look at it. It's been a work in progress really since the fall, working with them, trying to get this right. And it really came together with the third-party reviewer. I was so pleased that he worked hand in glove with Giuliano Associates to tie it together. His recommendations, now I'm going to mention some that aren't included, but Giuliano Associates tried to get them all done and put them on the site plan that you got in the packet last week. Almost all of them got on there. So what that meant is that, we didn't have to come back again and redo it. George Cotter had some recommendations, went over them with the Giuliano folks, and they were on board with, I believe, all of them. I haven't had a chance to check if some of the ones were left off.
Is this ready to be acted upon tonight?
It is. I have a bunch of conditions of approval.
Well, are you in agreement to the conditions of approval?
Except they don't know some that.
Well, then, if
just
they
came
don't
down
have it,
today. They're not that hard.
well, I'm not going to go through them.
The ones that are in my report are very clear. Then the ones that I didn't have time to type tonight, I'm just working on right now. I've just finished them.
Are you agreeing to the conditions of approval in the environmental report?
Yeah, it appears that it aligns with Mr. Cotter's report, most of those recommendations, so yes.
You're agreeing?
Please.
It looks like most of these recommendations from Aaron align with Mr. Cotter's report, so yes.
Yes. Okay. And if that's the case, if they're wrapped in conditions of approval,
I'd like to implore you to do some of the conditions that I've suggested and some that didn't, like on page 4, all the changes to the stormwater management maintenance plan. I didn't get a chance to put it onto page 7, but they're on page 4, so maybe if you could reference that.
well, I'm just not going to go word by word here. What is needed? They're agreeing to the conditions of approval.
Okay,
You're
but-
saying there's additional conditions?
Yes, Mr.
But-
Carter wanted the sides and the bottom of the basin lined with erosion control blankets. I don't know if that was an oversight or if Giuliano's was not feeling they did not want to do that. It might have been an oversight, I don't know.
We have no objection to adding that.
You have no issues? Okay.
Okay.
They're in agreement with everything, Aaron. Let's move on. Okay. Now, this is a modification to your permit, correct?
Yes.
So there's no significant activity involved, right, Aaron?
Correct, well, you can vote on, but no.
We already voted on significant
Okay,
activity. This
fine,
is the
no significant
modification.
activity.
This-
I'm on board with this application, yes.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the modification to their application.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that application A24-2.2, 100 Bards Road, the modifications to the permit be approved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Call for a discussion. Any discussion? No discussion? Call for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
Very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Housekeeping. Okay. At this time, we'll have the public hearing on application A24 1.1, 1136 Durham Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Robert Wiedenman. I'm the owner and president of Sunwood Development, the applicant for this project. With me tonight is Christopher Giuliano, who I'm sure you all know, and also with me is Andrea Gomes from Hinckley Allen, our attorney. Tim Hollister was here last month with us, but he had a prior commitment, so Andrea's here in his place. With your permission, I'd like to just go over a couple of things that have happened since our last meeting, just to give everyone an update, make sure we're all on the same page, and then answer any additional questions there may be. Since our meeting on March 6th, we got a response letter from Aaron, an environmental plans report from Aaron, which we addressed with a submission on 3/15. That included revised plans for the project, DCIA calculation map, a revised maintenance plan, and a standpipe perforation detail sheet. Those were all submitted on the 15th of March. At that point, we, let's see, I'm trying to remember how we did this. What was the timing of the order? Aaron submitted an additional list of questions and comments dated, I'm sorry, I've got the dates mixed up here, I apologize. I think those were on her March 6th, so we responded to those on the 15th. On the 22nd of March, we received additional questions from Aaron, which again, we responded to with a memo from Chris Giuliano's office on March 25th. And that included a revised set of plans. So you should see 2 revisions since the last set of plans. So we're up to the March 25th at this point. We've also submitted a most recent response to Aaron's latest comments. There was a second environmental planners report that came out on the 28th of March. And that revision, or those responses were submitted to Aaron's office this morning. I believe you guys all have copies of those, but I also understand that you probably have not had time to read any of those. I'd like to address those at some point during the presentation with your permission, but we did get them to Aaron earlier today, so hopefully she's at least had a chance to review them prior to the meeting.
Well, I really don't want to go over reports that aren't in the packet. This is what's going on with all these last-minute requests, Aaron? The last environmental report.
I don't know how to
Well,
answer that. They got me the revised site plan on March 27. That's when their last site plan came in. So I looked at it, and I responded on March 28th with my environmental planners report of March 28th. And on March 28th, I got the town engineer and the water division's comments, which they have. In other words, things keep moving. Things keep moving. They respond, we respond, back and forth.
Well, it seems like it's not only them, it's even in the water and sewer and engineering department.
I can't speak for them, but
Well,
for me, I respond, we're constantly improving the project, so.
I know, but you know that we're trying to eliminate anything after Friday before the meeting. Friday before the meeting is when we're requesting to be put in the packets.
Okay, we can listen to the public and table this if that's your choosing, and then we'll have a more slow, be more measured
You
review.
suggesting table it again?
Well, if you don't want to go over the several recent documents that came in.
Well, I think it's important what the water and sewer and what the engineering had to say. What are they driving at here? Because it seems to be sand filters, but I don't really see that in the water and sewer request. And this one talks about a sand filter.
Oh, he doesn't actually use the word sand filter. I know he did in conversation. Well, he refers to regulation 4.13B, which requires a bunch of things, and one of them is sand filters. And the reason they require that is that this is in the watershed, the Wallingford watershed, which is the watershed that we have our own water company in Wallingford, and that's our watershed for our reservoirs and so on, our water source, public water source supply. So they take it very seriously, and this property is in the watershed. Now, I don't know why I don't know when it came up before. I refer everything out, and I heard about this last week, so I don't know when Bob first heard about it, from the town planner or something.
And the engineering department?
Okay, engineering, and that's interesting because it morphed again. I haven't had a chance to tell Bob what happened at 4:30 today on this. The engineering department, this is their comments. I won't read it all, but their main issue was that this temporary sediment trap is in the same area as the detention basin. In other words, they're double doing it, which is, we've done it for years. However, recently, could become a problem, and also the state of Connecticut has come out with a manual, the Sedimentation and Control Manual that came out in 2002. Well, it's been updated, and now it's coming out this spring. It's out. And the regulation, I understand, went into effect March 31st. And what it says is, no, you have to separate your temporary said basins or said traps from your detention basins, because they were finding that if you don't separate it, those fine silts get in there, depending how big your project, how long, how much mud, et cetera, and could clog it up. So they wanted it no more. So then that's what the town engineer has come down in. However, she did call me at 4:15 and we had a discussion about this. And, because I know I had a discussion with Bob around, 1 o'clock, and he was saying, okay, maybe we could dig down. He says, this is a new regulation, maybe we could dig down a foot. Maybe I should let you explain this, Mr. Wiedemann. But to dig down a foot, what if I just dig it down a foot, take that silty water away, and then bring in a foot of fresh dirt? Anyway, Allison Kapuscinski, our town engineer, entertained that idea, and she asked me to tell the commission that she would go along with that idea if he wants to propose that. To dig down, her only stipulation would be she'd like to see the infiltration rates. Maybe then they'd have to go down 2 feet. She wouldn't know. It would have to be done. First you go down a foot, and then you look, and if it'll drain right, she'd be on board with it, and then they could dig down and make it an official final detention basin.
So we're back to this thing. We got a bunch of papers. We got answered reports to stuff from last week that we haven't looked at. Aaron just points out the fact that the engineering is in agreement with the idea they have of modifying the bottom of the sediment basin. What's the choice of the commission? Does the commission want to hear this and continue, or let them get this all straightened out once and for all? I'll call for a decision. Jeff?
Do we anticipate more changes?
You never know with this situation.
I don't know. Wouldn't mind waiting, but
Mike?
I prefer everything's in front of us at one time.
I'm sorry?
I prefer everything's in front of us at one time. Everything's completed at once.
In other words, wait.
Yes.
I'd rather wait and have everything.
I asked a question at the last meeting, and I didn't hear my answer tonight about the elevation of the foundations, where the excess fill on the property was going to go. So I don't know if I just went by the wayside or I wasn't important enough to get an answer.
Nope.
Mr. Giuliano.
For the record, Mr. Kern, we addressed your concerns along with that of the chairman in our March 25th response to Aaron O'Hare. So all that information made it on the plans, and as I mentioned last month, the site is a balanced cut fill. We then provided you the additional grades on each house on the plans. All right?
Thank you.
I take your comments and questions very seriously, Mr. Kern. I try to address them to the best of my ability.
Okay. I'm going to jump. It seems like the commission wants to table it, but I want to hear from the public. This is a public hearing, which I'm not sure I opened correctly, but I opened it back when. But at this time, I'll entertain any comments from the public, the name and address for the record.
John Wooding, 1131 Durham Road, Wallingford. I think we are all in agreement that if you're going to table it, we just prefer to wait as well.
No, well, with no comments?
With no comments tonight. If we could have...
I don't think that's fair. You had some video you wanted to show also.
Yeah.
You going to show the video?
I'll have Dean come up because it's his property, and I'll plug in the video.
I'm Dean Toscano, 1128 Durham Road, neighbor. My property's west. It borders 1136 Durham, 1136 Durham Road. He has video, iPhone compatible, so we're going to play a little video. It's just how the water from that property moves. It really doesn't stand. It actually moves and causes a river on my property. So hopefully you can see, this is going to be down where the retention pond is. This is the end of my driveway looking toward Durham Road. Hopefully it plays. This is where the retention pond is going to go on that property. It's the best I can do. It's very short. It's maybe 40 seconds.
If you could all speak up, it would help.
They said it'll take a few minutes to load, or a minute to load, so.
And I just want to say, after the last meeting, it was nice to see one of your members come out to my property and look around and actually see the way the water is coming onto my property from the adjacent property, 1136. That was very nice. I appreciate the member who did.
Is that it, just the two?
Well, it's probably not going to work. It shouldn't be standing still. It's a video. I could share it, like I said, with you if we're going to have technology problems, but we try. But I do have many, many videos that could give a lot of light to what's happening over there on my end.
We had a run-in before. Oh,
There
here
it
it is,
goes,
okay.
yeah.
This is where the retention pond is going to go. This is to the east side of my property from my driveway. So that's how it comes over into my property. That's a makeshift dam over there with that log that fell. I kind of just left it there.
There's just a little bit more as it goes to the end of the driveway, but it just paused on me. But I think you got a pretty good gist of how much water is on the property just with what you saw there. For some reason, it just stopped. There's like another 10, 20 seconds to it, but it's just him going down to the end of the driveway and shows the water flowing from his property and that property coming out into the street currently. So we could always, he has other videos. We tried to get him over to me to be able to play something that's even a little bit better than this one, but unfortunately, connection was a little issue tonight. But thank you for allowing us to show this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's not working well, but.
Is there any other comments from the public?
Good evening. Tom Kappas, 4 Killen Road. I spoke last month, but my property, 4 Killen Road, abuts 1136 Durham Road on the north side. Adjacent to my property on the east side is Wallingford Land Trust property, which then borders Grebe Road, which is the proposed entryway into this 13-unit subdivision on 3.5 acres. Several concerns I just want to state. 3 for tonight. I was really looking forward to hearing more information on this proposal and, all the due diligence that was called for by this commission. But I again want to remind this commission, this is a real problem. I've been in my house 20 years this fall. I have water. Now again, I'm on the north side. The south side, my neighbors and friends on the south side have a far tougher problem with water, as you can see in Dean's video. But on the north side, I've had water in my backyard since I moved in. It's been worse the last 5 to 7 years, but there are times, most times, especially in the fall time frame, and this time frame, I can't even go in my backyard, and I have a large parcel of property as I am adjacent to this property. So that's 1. 2, when Fairlawn Farms was built, there was the adjacent property on my east was either gifted or donated to the Wallingford Land Trust. Now that property has a retention basin similar to what's in the proposal. And I just want to speak to that for a minute because this retention basin is non-functioning. When I closed on my house in 2004, I was told at closing that the catalyst and the reason for that retention basin was 1136 Durham Road as a big proponent for shedding water, I guess. I'm not using the appropriate term. Now, this catch basin is not maintained, which again is a concern. I don't know how this is going to be maintained. I was hoping to hear that tonight from Mr. Wiederman and his team here. But it's overgrown. I've never seen water in the 20 years I've been there in this catch basin, I think because it's always sitting in my backyard. And I'm very concerned that this is going to worsen this problem, and I just wanted to state for the record that I have existing problems, my neighbors have existing problems, and this is just way too many homes on a 3.5-acre parcel, and I'm skeptical. And I think more due diligence and further review is needed. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Evening. Jeff Rajunas, 1125 Durham Road. So I am south of Dean Toscano's property, sort of diagonal across Durham Road. You know, a lot of things, a lot of moving pieces have been happening here right at the last minute. I think we generally, as the residents of the area, are very concerned that, you know, the best laid plans don't always work out the way you think they are. And you make certain assumptions, and when you do a you know, water management design, and we have some serious concerns because of some of the testimony you've heard tonight and other things we've seen in the town. Is it unreasonable to ask the commission to do what that previous project did and have a peer review? Have a third party come in. Once this settles down and everybody, you know, everybody's comfortable with where it's at, can we have a third party come in, review the whole plan, look at all the data, and make sure that this is being done correctly to the best of everyone's ability? I don't think that that's unreasonable for concerned residents in the area. The second point I'd like to make is I've contacted the Southwest Conservation District, and I've asked them to support us to just come in and take a look from a conservation standpoint to make sure this property has been existing for quite a period of time, untouched. The resident hasn't even been there for 5 years. There's a lot of wildlife. And so we just want to make sure, you know, we're looking at everything that might be of concern. So I'm hoping that can happen within the next time period. It sounds like everything's going to get pushed off till next month. So, you know, that buys us a little bit of time to have them come in and do a review themselves.
Well, keep Aaron informed on their progression or what their involvement might be. Okay. Any other comments from the public? I want to mention to the public a moment or two. You're having surface water problems, or what you think surface water problems. You're having water in your basement. Those are not really falls into wetlands involvement. This site doesn't have any wetlands on it. The only reason they're here is because they cross into an area of impervious surface. So I certainly don't mind listening to the issues, and water in your basement is a terrible thing. But we're functioning, if you really come down to the wire, it's based on soil type, it's based on functioning wetlands. This is just water on the top with a high water table this year.
Devaney, 311 Grebe Road, Wallingford.
Your name again, please?
Bob Devaney, 311 Grebe Road in Wallingford.
Thank you.
Okay. Looking at the water situation out on Grebe Road and Durham Road, it all kind of functions together. My neighbor on Killen Road made a comment about the retention ponds. And those retention ponds were built with Fairlawn Farms years ago. They were supposed to be designed with curtain drains. And the curtain drains that were supposed to be put behind the houses on Grebe Road were never put in. They were never put in on the part of Killen Road. So what most people don't realize is the area up in Fairlawn Farms, Trailside Road, all that water comes from Killen Road down Grebe Road to 314 Grebe Road, which is Vinnie Cristone's old house, and it shoots to 91. Now, the property, 1136 Durham Road, that water now is going to go down to Tom's Tom's Road and go to a culvert there and go to 91. So in all these storms, if you ever go out there when the storm, where it's really raining, and you look at 91 going south, where it comes down from Barnes Road, you look on the right, it's all water. I don't know if any of the commission members realize, but 91 has had to close down 4 times this year so far, southbound, because the water cannot handle going through that culvert. So when the water heads through that culvert and goes to Spring Lake, it wipes out everybody down at the bottom end of Durham Road. So when 1136 is built, that water is going to get funneled to Tom's, down to Tom's to 91, and I think you ought to get a comment from the state to find out how many times, or if there's something that's got to be done to that culvert going over underneath 91. I don't know if anybody knew that that 91 has closed. Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Now for my comments. Before I was just trying to find out if we could wait. But again, John Wooding, 1131 Durham Road. I really appreciate what you all do. I know this is not an easy job. Serving 2 terms on the Board of Ed, I know that you have to balance, what you know is to be the law and regulations and everything else, state mandates and all that with the best interests of the town of Wallingford. And I know that's a difficult task at some point in time, at many points in time. So I do appreciate what you do. If you don't get paid, you should get paid. If you get paid, you should be paid more. But anyways, so first and foremost, I think, it's important to understand that the current regulations for that zone were put in place, those zones, for a reason. And I think watershed, whatever, drainage, were part of those reasons. We already have a drainage issue in that area, and you've seen from the video, you've heard of many discussions from, conditions of wells when Fairlawn Farms was being put in and the impact that had on some of the local wells. You have heard about how the water flow down onto 91 and whatnot. We've also had, over the last many years, a lot of drainage and water issues with, that have been designed by engineers that haven't really been up to par. I've heard of flooding at the movie theater, and then I guess where the Verna development was, Verna's Plaza, where Century Fireplace, the old Century Fireplace was, the Bristol Myers Pond, whatever the pond was there, Spring
We
Lake.
got to focus on wetlands on this site.
Right. Well, wetlands and some other issues too, right? That affect, the drainage into the
No,
wetlands.
not necessarily drainage, wetlands.
Yeah, okay.
Protections and wetlands.
Yeah, okay. Well, due to the, historically poor decisions in the past of some of or recommendations in the past, we're concerned about this area too. I know the water department was mentioned. Town engineering department was mentioned. Dean showed you videos. His well is right there. And when you put, 13 houses in a crammed space like that, with all the paving and the water coming off the roofs and the lawnmowers and the fertilizing and the pesticides, everything else, I mean, God knows what kind of impact that's going to have on the wells. And I know we've even had somebody call the health department. I know this is not your concern, but the problem is like, who do we talk to? The health department's like, well, go ahead and test your wells now, and then test them after the fact, and let us know if there's a problem. It's like, again, I know that's not your issue, but these are the kind of things that we're having to face with some of the other departments in the town of Wallingford that are not providing answers. So I'm glad you're pushing this off another month. I hope that maybe Aaron could get some of these answers from other departments before it goes to planning and zoning. But please, just consider some of the impact on the local properties. One quick question. Since you're tabling it tonight, does that mean planning and zoning won't be on the agenda next week? Is that how it usually works?
What's the question regarding planning and zoning?
Since you're tabling this for
If we table it,
does that mean, because it's on the agenda for planning and zoning next Wednesday, does that mean it will not be on planning and zoning next Wednesday?
I don't know if they'll vote on it or not.
Okay.
I don't think they'll vote on it if we table it.
Okay, because my understanding was that if you postpone it, they postpone their vote, but I didn't know what the
That sounds
proper...
reasonable.
Okay. Thank you very much again.
All right. I know you didn't want to hear this, but I'm not going to deal with all kinds of reports that pop in late. Yes, Aaron?
Because it's a public hearing, can I just do a little bit of housekeeping here? Just to mention that as Chris Giuliano briefly touched on, he did respond to comments dated March 25th, and the public should know that 2.5 pages of his comments were responses to their issues and complaints. And I don't know how they could be made available, except if Chris, they're real short, if he could run through them, then the public would know that he was responding to their various comments. This is in his reply letter of March 25th, and he also replied to Commissioners Kern's comments and Chairman, your comments. So they are responsive.
All right,
want
what
him
else? Move on.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to mention that, and then my environmental planners report dated March 28th, has the status, has all the, runs through the chronology of this, because a lot's gone on. And then I make some more requests for more information, which now that the public hearing is going to be continued, I'll have a chance to meet with them and make sure everything's folded in nice, with no loose ends on all these things. And I also will confer with the town engineer and the water department to fold all that in nicely.
I certainly don't expect a lot of things to happen next month. We should be able to act upon this without fail next month then.
Yes.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a couple of comments, please.
Microphone.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a couple of comments, please.
Go ahead.
I understand where the commission is in a difficult spot. Also, you have to realize the difficult spot this puts us in. In the last month, we've gotten 3 different reports from the environmental planner. We've heard comments from the commission, which we've addressed. We've heard comments from the neighbors, which we've addressed. At this point in time, we have not heard anyone mention anything about any impacts to wetlands or watercourses, which is a purview of your commission. It is my opinion that our plan meets all of the requirements and that anything that is not covered in our plan currently and is going to be addressed in the next 30 days is not likely to change anything at all in the overall scheme of this project. I would ask you to give some serious consideration to approving it for the fact that we are not showing any impacts, that the town planner, environmental planner, has not said there's any impacts. No one has brought forth anything that there are any impacts, and I just honestly don't know why we're delaying this any further than we are today. I'm perfectly happy with asking you to act on what we have before you now without any changes. We meet all the requirements. I'm just not certain what another 30 days is going to bring to light that you don't already have that you could use in your deliberations.
No. Stay there. I think the commission feels that whether she didn't answer you or you didn't get back to her fast enough, but for us to sit here and make a decision that basically does somebody's job, I don't think we want to do that. I think we would like to have a package that says, Aaron says, yes, everything is satisfied, everything is under control, everything is there.
Again, we responded to her first comments.
I know.
She comes up with another list of comments a
unfortunately,
week later. We respond to those comments in a timely manner. She comes up with a 3rd set of comments. Is there going to be a 4th set of comments after our response today? And can we respond to that, or will there be a 5th set after that? At what point do we realize that there are no impacts and that there's no reason for not giving us an approval? I just
think
honestly don't know what happens in the next month that's going to change anybody's opinion.
I understand completely. But, no, let me, don't get nervous. Hang on there, John. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere for another 2 hours if you want to stay with us. Okay? This is something that we have a staff person. We rely on a staff person. If we make all the decisions, then we don't need a staff person. We got to rely on a staff person. Unfortunately, this is the position we're in. Your turn, John.
Since this is all new to me, I believe that we're not going to have an opportunity to speak again, so I'd like to give you some information. We had an environmental engineer look at the property and make some recommendations. I have a copy of a report that I could give to each one of you.
Who generated the report?
It's for Triton Environmental.
And they generated an environmental impact?
They did some
report on
work
this
for
project?
us, yes.
And you're holding it out till now?
Well, we just got this today. We just got this today.
You're no better than everybody else that comes before this board tonight.
I never said I was better than anybody else here.
Jesus, you know what?
In fact, I'm probably not anywhere near as good as half of the people in this room, so. But I could either give this to Aaron.
How many copies of that do you have?
I have enough for all of you and maybe one extra for Mr. Wiedemann.
No, why don't you give it to Aaron?
Okay.
Does anybody want a copy of this? If you want Aaron to give it first, give them a copy
Okay.
of this report.
Give them a copy and then the rest of them to Aaron.
And then we can pass the other ones out up here. We can share or well, she needs one.
Give them to Aaron.
I don't know. We'll see when it comes down.
Are we reading this now? Is that what we're doing? I don't know what we're doing. We're reading it.
You know, Bob, I would agree with you about the wetlands issue, but to have this many people come in front of us and see the videos and the pictures that Aaron has taken out there, there seems to be a water issue problem. And I'm not saying it's your problem, but we don't want to make the conditions worse than they already are. So unfortunately, for you to proceed with your development, we need to somehow correct what's going on out there now. It doesn't sound like it's just your piece of property. It sounds like there's been other areas, Fair Lawn Farms, and, you know, these people have water in their cellar for the last 10 or 15 years, and then the issue with 91 with the water going under the road. So I think if you look at the big picture, as a citizen of Wallingford and as a developer, you'd be concerned that if you were to do this project, you want to do it right. You don't want to do it and walk away from it and then be an issue down the road. So it's okay to say there's no wetlands as far as our decision, but, you know, in your heart, I think you know it needs to be looked at. And I'm not saying Mr. Giuliano can correct the problems that are out there, but we need to go forward.
Sir, I hear you and I understand what you're saying. I believe we have addressed a lot of those things that, by way of having a detention pond with other forms of development on this site, would not require, that we're probably enhancing the stormwater management of the whole area, including 91. But again, Mr. Vitale doesn't want to go through that all tonight. I'm not going to sit here for 2 hours and tell you all the reasons we can. We can do it in a response letter. But I think we've addressed a lot of these concerns that with other different proposals that we could have come up with on this site, again, going back to the prudent and feasible alternatives, would have been much less desirable than what we're proposing. And we're happy to address that in a form letter in the next month so you guys can all have it to look at.
Well, unfortunately, I think I'll enter a motion to table this application.
Mr. Chairman, could I just,
Go ahead, Jim.
I just wanted to, I got out here and I looked around the area, and indeed, there's no wetlands on this property, which is a very good thing. Nevertheless, it's before the commission for other reasons, and I won't go into that, but in looking at the overall picture, there's a bunch of things that became a concern to me, and this highlights it, not just for this application, but ones in the past, as well as ones we'll address in the future. While out looking at this particular site, I happened to go, if you follow Fair Lawn Lane, I believe it is, all the way to Grebe Road. Right at the corner of that development area is a detention pond that was built for that purpose. And of course, the homeowners associations take care of these things, or at least they're supposed to. They don't. And so what concerns me is the seeds that we plant and what happens to those down the road in the future. Not that we're approving this, but I suspect the next agency that addresses this, because there are no wetlands on there, Nevertheless, it's going to be something that requires maintenance. What needs to be pushed in this town is some kind of a regulation that puts responsibility for the maintenance of these things for the future, for future development, and it's not happening. The one to the north of this, associated with this whole drainage basin, is not functioning at all the way it should. Even worse than that, I went a little north of that, just, you could walk it in 5 minutes, to the big, huge detention pond, which this commission was involved with not that long ago. The Anthem, I think, is the facility that's there. It used to be Enron or something, but that is an
Mortgage
enormous
lenders,
basin.
wasn't that the mortgage lenders project?
Where?
Mortgage lenders, the old Busillo
Yes,
farm?
yes. That is in real need of some maintenance. It's affecting I-91. Tonight, when I drove down here, I went by the access area right here off of Durban Road, and it's whitewater coming down there, undeveloped. Now, here we have a situation, and this is a zoning issue, but in terms of water, and that's our concern, and it's indirect here, because I think what this is going to do is help the water in the area in one way, but let me just carry this out. As I recall from the original descriptions here, the soils here are extremely permeable. They convey water very, very, very well, and it's quite deep, the thickness of this. In recognition of that, the applicant has gone in and put in a whole bunch of foot drains. That's a good thing for all of your properties in terms of the water that would otherwise be coming onto your property, as witnessed currently, especially this year, more so than in many previous years. You probably have to go back to the 80s to see a similar situation what we're having now. It's nothing new. We've had it before. It's not an everyday occurrence, the conditions we're facing. So what they're doing here, they got a lot of foot drains all over this, and it's going into a detention basin, which is going to control the waters leaving this site. That's an engineering concern for how the piping's all joined together on Durham Road. But I see this as lowering the water table in this whole area, because the drains are 24/7, 365. The whole area is going to go drown. My concerns are not with your wet concerns, but what might be a concern to anyone who might have a shallow well near this area, to the south and to the east primary, because that's the strata underneath dips in those directions, and the conveyance of water in the subsurface is generally east and south throughout the whole Connecticut Valley, from Deerfield, Mass, right down to Long Island Sound. So my concerns are that all this water discharge will create great control. I think it will really help a lot of the water superficially, but I would be concerned with that amount of dewatering of the entire area. When they take all the water out, next time it rains heavy, it's going to take a long time for that to fill back in, and it won't, because it's all being drained out. So the water that rises above these curtain drains, it's not going to happen anymore. It's being controlled. That's engineering, and that's a good thing to protect you. Again, my only concern is if there are any shallow wells in particular, and I don't know if you'll see any of those except in very old residents. It's not a common thing to find anything under 100 feet. You have shallow? Well, if you have a shallow well, either way, there's going to be less water in this area. It's going to be controlled to protect you all from the surface waters, but it's the underwaters that you might have a concern with, but that's something that can be taken up with engineering. Those are my thoughts on the overall site.
I don't disagree with you at all. Jeff.
I think we should have a site investigation, not to any site, but to look at the product of the seeds we have sown in the recent past. I think it would be enlightening, and the town has to become aware of this so they can move forward with legislation that puts the homeowners of an association into responsibility when they sign a contract to own that property.
Okay. Entertain a motion to table this application.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to table the application A24-1.1, 1136 Durham Road.
Could I add, do you need to continue the public hearing at the same time?
To table this public hearing, is that what you asked?
We'll continue the public hearing to May 1st, yeah?
Continue the public hearing to May 1st.
Second?
Second.
Call for a vote. Dick?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
We need an extension.
Thank you, everyone.
What's that? Okay. We're going to need a request for extending time, extension. You take it. Okay. All right. Under old business, A18, 12.2, Roland Technologies. Roland Technologies, Aaron.
Oh, nothing, no movement.
Okay. Going on old business, application A24, 2.1, 155 East Street, Fergie Management.
I'll ask Aaron.
Holy shit. More goddamn violations than there is applications.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's just keep getting
They just
Yeah, it
keep
keeps
at
getting
it,
bigger.
throwing.
No, nothing's coming off.
Nope.
Yeah, no. Where's the Fergie file?
Good evening. For the record, Tom Linden, Linden Landscape Architects from Weathersfield. I have with me Scott Thibodeau, the plant manager for Ferdy, and Frank DeRosa, the project manager for Ferdy. I won't go into great detail over the whole thing again. The overall site plan of the property, the main building, the rear northeast corner is where the project is, what we're here for. On the west-hand side of the property, this will be important later. On the west-hand side of the property, there's an existing riprap outfall that goes out to the river. There's piping from the existing detention basin that's here, and all of the roof drainage goes out through that riprap. It's a deep riprap swale and outfall that goes out to the river. So after the last meeting, we met with Erin the following Tuesday to go through her environmental report from last month, to go through all of the issues. And I believe we've nailed everything. I don't have a report for this month. So basically the changes we made from last time to this time is the biggest concern in the comments were with the new detention basin that we're building. So this new piece of pavement here is on top of the existing little detention basin that's out there. So we had to replace this volume, which basically catches the rear driveway, and then add in the volume for the additional pavement that we're putting in there by building a detention basin on this side of the road. So that's the detention basin that we're building on this side. The drainage report that you got last time and everything we discussed last time, this is designed to replace what we're filling and add the volume we need for the additional pavement here. It's basically a 9,000 cubic foot volume detention basin. The change that we made from last time to this time through our discussion the week after the last meeting was because we're in the FEMA flood zone, the two things was the question, can you put a detention basin in a FEMA flood zone? And the answer to that is yes, and I can tell you why. And then having the compensatory flood volume and detention in the same basin. So we went back and forth for quite a while in our discussion the week after the meeting, and basically the easiest way to solve the problem and have it go away was we are now going to put the compensatory flood volume on the west-hand side. So this basin is solely for detention of stormwater from impervious surface. It replaces what we're filling with the new pavement and is big enough to handle the extra impervious surface. It's detention and detention only. So we took the volume that we need for filling in the FEMA flood zone for compensatory volume, which is planning and zoning floodplain permit that we're going for, and we're taking that volume. So we took the volume that we're filling here within the flood zone, the volume, this piece of floodplain right here, that amount of cut, and we came up with, it's on L1 in the chart, but it came up with roughly 1,600 cubic feet of compensatory volume that we need to provide. So to do that, this is, we're going back 2 years, this is what we did 2 years ago, more or less, is that riprap outfall that goes to the river, we're going to create along that edge the volume that we need. So basically we're taking it's roughly 60 by 65 foot area, we're dropping it down a foot so that this is now a foot more volume in the FEMA flood zone. So we're required by the calculations of cut and fills to provide 1,600 cubic feet. We're creating an area that's 4,000 cubic feet of volume on this side. So basically that answered almost all of the questions in the environmental report from last time. It was all focused on the detention and the compensatory volume because we're in the flood zone. Other than that, we've made the graphic changes and all the other little things that were in there. We provided the written updated stormwater management report, maintenance report. Then there was the few housekeeping items, the maintenance items that they needed to correct for issues on the site. And those are basically have to do with the existing detention basin that's on the west-hand side where the current truck hopper is. There was the area that we corrected 2 years ago is eroding again with the runoff from the pavement. So, and the trucks, as in Aaron's report, the trucks are kind of cutting the corner and making it even muckier than it is. So what we're doing, in the process of doing, is installing a couple of steel bollards along the edge to keep them from driving across the edge, to help with the runoff from the pavement, which is designed to run off from the pavement into this detention area. That's how this was designed in 2017, is we're going to put a stone strip along the edge of the pavement. So it's going to be like 2-inch stone, 6 inches deep with fabric underneath it, along that edge to slow the water so that it doesn't come off the pavement and just rush down the grass, because that's basically what it's doing. The grass just can't stay established. So we're putting that stone strip in there to slow it down a little bit, and hopefully that's the solution that's gonna make this work and make the grass be able to stay established and not erode, because we're slowing the water down. The other thing we're doing is planting. So this whole area where we had planted the stuff 2 years ago that the deer ate that winter, they're planting again, trying with a more deer-resistant, hopefully, plant selection. A type of viburnum.
Arrowwood viburnum. There's 36 of them that we'll plant all along that whole start area, all the way down the detention pond.
The 4x4 posts have been installed to reinstall the placards so that they're not on the little popsicle sticks that they were on. I think those were the housekeeping items.
All right. Aaron, you have been dealing closely with these gentlemen. Have they satisfied all concerns?
Yes, yes.
So we can act on this tonight?
Yes.
And there's no recommendations for conditions of approval, right? They just dealt with everything they needed.
Yeah, they folded everything in pretty much.
Okay. Do they need to notify you when something's going to happen?
Oh, good point, yes. Yes, if they would,
So-
there's a condition of approval, the standard one, that they're to give me 1 week's notice to schedule a erosion control site inspection.
Well, you
Erosion-
can deal with them. We'll just notify that they've got to deal with you before they start construction in the site.
Okay, all right.
All right. This is a new application, so we'll vote on significant activity. I'll entertain a motion, significant activity, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that application 24-2.1, 155 East Street, Ferdy Management Corporation be declared not a significant impact activity.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Call for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny this application.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that application A 24-2.1, 155 East Street, Ferdy Management Corporation be approved with the condition that the environmental planner be notified 1 week before any action is taken.
Is there any necessity for a bond, Aaron? $5,000 bond, because they seem to skip a little bit of this and a little bit of that?
Okay,
Add a $5,000 bond.
And we'll have a $5,000 bond.
Motion made and seconded.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Call for a vote. Jeff?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a couple questions for him, though, too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's right. My vote doesn't change. If we got on the short bus right now and took a ride down there, is that area underwater?
No,
It's not?
it's not underwater, no,
Not even where the loading docks are?
no,
No?
not even close.
Right. And unfortunately, I'm homebound, so I get a lot of time on the computer. I saw today where one of the fertilizer factories had a fish kill, killed thousands of fish along a river. What's the chances, we're here to protect the wetlands and watercourses. What's the chances of you having a problem down there with your product?
Zero. Product doesn't come anywhere near where any water would permeate onto the property. So we don't keep any material anywhere near that. So we have a housekeeping policy that has daily inspections along the property to make sure it's cleaned. If there is anything that does happen on the property, we hold the trucking companies responsible, and they have a great response to come and clean up. We also have the ability on our facility to have all the equipment required to do instant cleanups as well ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
If I could have your name and title, please?
Sure, my name is Scott Thibodeau. I'm the plant manager.
Pardon me, Scott,
Thibodeau, Thibodeau,
my manager?
correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Is that voted?
We voted, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have a series of new applications. They won't get into discussion tonight.
Yeah, yes, okay, thank you.
The,
Reports and communications.
well, the bottom, communications, we're not getting into fines tonight. Farm Hill memorandum, I don't know if this is the memorandum regarding Highland Avenue or not. I don't think so. This is a memorandum regarding cease and desist orders and violations.
Oh, no, not yet. She hasn't
That's a
responded to
different
that. But I did want to talk about that memorandum. It's number 7?
I haven't got to 7 yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, where are you at?
Okay, I'm on 4. Proposed budget, you've taken care of that with the mayor?
Yes,
All set? All done?
all set,
All right, he gave you everything you asked for?
yes.
Good. So we can take that off the list.
Yes.
Okay, now getting into 5. This is a bunch of things regarding 898 Church Street, Galesville. And I think 5, 6, and 7 all tie together. And if in the packet was a memorandum coming out from Janice, and where it states there's no statutory authority permitting a public hearing on an application which has already been approved. So we can just take that right off our list of things that's, to me, takes care of Church Street.
I do want to let everybody know, for the last 2 months, and I got another one today, I get a lot of emails about this, and I just will mention the one today. What a lot of them say is when Vincent Peretta, who's the owner, comes in for his modification for a sidewalk, because Planning and Zoning wanted a sidewalk on Highland Avenue. So at some point, if he wants to move forward with his development, he's got to come back to the Wetland Commission for the sidewalk, because it runs right along, it's within the 50 feet of the wetlands. So they want, that is a given. What they're asking for, and I'm not saying we do it, but they're asking for a public hearing at that time. I'm just letting you know. They know what, Peretta hasn't come in, the owner has not come in.
Let's move on. Okay, item 8, DEP, that's the use of pesticides on Maltby Lane, Murgo Pond. Okay, now we get down to the violations. Number 1 is the same, 2 is the same, 3 is the same, 4 is the same, I think 5, 119 Quigley Road.
I'm waiting for a little bit more into like June to see if things died of his plantings. He planted 35 shrubs and trees.
All
So I want to wait a bit.
6 stays the same. 7, 4 Miller Road. Bob and Rhonda. Rhoda. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Bob Doolittle, 4 Mellor Road.
Okay, as you know, we were out there, it's in our minutes and everything else.
Yes, thank you.
Is commissioners got any comments at this point? I mean, my observation was there's a bridge crossing the wetlands that should have had a permit. But some of the other stuff's on that site, I think we have less erosion because the concrete blocks are up against the wall. But some of that stuff is doing its job. So what's the concern here, Aaron, on this? We should have an after-the-fact permit for the bridge?
Yeah, there's a few unpermitted activities that if the commission feels that after-the-fact permitting is warranted, that we could go ahead with that. I mean, that's my opinion.
I don't like the whole term, the after-fact permit, but if that's the mechanism we had, I'll entertain a motion regarding after-the-fact permit for the bridge.
Well, I'm sorry, it's not just the bridge, but yeah, you can start with the bridge.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we issue an after-the-fact permit on 4 Miller Road for the footbridge that was installed.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, go ahead, Nick.
I'd like to see some wetland plaques, Aaron.
Sure, yeah. Yes,
I'd like to see some wetland plaques out there.
good idea, yeah.
Wetland
Placards,
placards?
Placards.
yeah. Signage.
Yeah, placards.
My hearing isn't good. Okay,
Add it to the motion?
Is add that to wetlands placards to be installed.
for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff? Yes. Yes. All set.
So can I have some clarity? What were you voting on this violation? That the violation remains until he submits after-the-fact application? Is that what the vote was? Or I'm a little unclear.
What are you referring to, Aaron?
The vote. What
The
did
vote
you?
was for giving him an after-the-fact permit for the bridge.
Okay,
And
does he
put the
have to,
placard.
okay, does he have to come in with an actual permit? I mean, he needs to apply, right, to me?
Well, that's what your job. You got to tell him what he needs to get the permit.
Okay, and then once he does, then next month you will lift the permit. You will lift the violation. Is that how it works?
You got a situation out there. The other option is don't give him an after-the-fact permit and say everything is fine. That isn't what we want to do, right?
Right, I suggest he comes in with the application and the check for the after-the-fact permit,
Yeah.
and then next month you lift the
It's all
notice.
done. Lift the violation.
Yeah, lift it next month, yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather we just hold off, because when I put that third pipe in, we're going to be back out there.
I think so.
So what do you want to hold off on? What aspect do you want to hold off on? Oh, lifting it? Lifting it?
I don't feel as though he needs to apply for a permit, the after-effect permit, because I believe that once they put that third pipe in there, we're going to be back out there for some damage control on that stone wall, or maybe even his walkway bridge is going to disappear. So I don't feel as though we should have him come in and put an application in for something that's going to not be there in a month. So if you give him a handful of placards and tell him where to stick them.
And the placards will be gone too.
What?
They might disappear too. The flood might get them too. I don't know what to say. I don't know, what to say.
I haven't seen any in town that you put up or had put up that have disappeared. The kids aren't.
No, I don't mean
trees.
I don't mean vandalism. I mean the floodwaters might take them
I
down.
think Mr. Doolittle's got a ladder that can go up 8 or 10 feet. But if he has company come over and they go out there and he shows them, presents that walkway, it shows them that we've been out there and we're aware of what happened out there. We're not the bad guys here. We respond to things like this. Because Mike has a picture from today's rain that you need a boat to get in off of Miller Road.
Yeah. Bad. Yeah.
That's just my recommendation, and I know the other half of the commission doesn't agree with me. So it's whatever you guys want to do.
Okay, I'm a little bit lost here now. Where are we here, Nick? What's your, I missed part of this. My fault.
I just think we give them the,
Oh, do you want to speak, please? Then I'll ask.
Wait a minute. You're not talking, people are not talking into the mic. The recording is
Pardon me.
not coming through.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order. Are you going to be asking for a motion that the notice of violation would remain?
Asking for a motion for an after-the-fact permit, is that what you're asking?
No, that the existing notice of violation would remain.
The violation's going to remain until the what? Till he has the permit in hand? This is Aaron's housekeeping. I want to get back to what you said, Nick.
I don't think we should charge them for an application, because I believe once that third pipe goes in at 55 Kondraki Lane, there's going to be a washout out there, because it's just going to, and maybe I'm wrong, but if he,
Well, the homeowner can request not being charged for a permit for a homeowner project. We've done that in the past. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I don't, whatever you guys, whatever you
Well,
say,
you-
that's fine with me. Yeah.
I gather you're requesting a no charge for this permit?
Yes, that would be great.
Commission,
That's
I'll
good.
call for a vote
That's
for the commission motion.
Oh, my goodness.
Is there a motion?
yes,
Going to be,
Could you restate the motion?
it's going to be a motion to waiver the fees for the application.
Is that your motion, Nick? You made the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
motion made, seconded. Call for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Yes. Are we all set now?
Is there a motion to continue the notice of violation, that it remains?
I don't,
I think,
doesn't make any difference. If we want to leave a motion to leave it in there, I think we'll come to that later on, because when we have all the motions to keep the violations intact. Why do you have to give all the motions that, violations in the newspaper article? You got to list them all that are still in effect? Is that part of the newspaper reporting?
On the last one, I just, oh gosh, I don't remember.
I mean, the size of the notice in the newspaper and the money we're paying for the notice to say this violation remains, this violation remains, this violation remains. I don't know if we've ever done that. I mean, is that standard?
I don't do it every month. It's every few months. I asked the law department, we don't have to do it every single month for these ones that drag on. We don't have to post it every single month, no. But I see what you mean. I will, I guess I won't do it then, if you'd like it not to do
The
it.
newspaper is not cheap,
It's gone up.
and for the
Yeah.
2 or 3 people that read it, I don't think we needed such a big display ad on our votes.
All right, I will take a look at that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We'll come back around to the, you're all set.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, number 8, A18 1.2, this is on 801 North Colony. I think I may want to hold that up a moment.
Oh,
And-
let me say, I didn't tell you, I didn't have a chance to tell you, they, at 4:30,
Can I
they
come-
tabled, they sent me an
Can
email
I
there.
come back to that, Aaron?
At 4:30, they tabled.
Can I come back to that one? Sure. Okay. Number 9, notice of violation, that's a new one that Aaron is dealing with Tosic Drive. And you've got South Central or Southwestern Conservation or just Roman?
It's just Roman.
Just Roman's working on it. So you'll have some more information on that
Tonight,
later on.
yes, I'm ready tonight.
Yes, sir.
You're going to make a blanket motion after, on what violations to continue.
Hello, I'm Joseph Wetasic Jr. I have the property at 2 Wetasic Drive.
Pardon me, I can't hear a thing. If you could restate your name and all that.
Joseph Wetasic Jr. I own the property at 2 Wetasic Drive. The violation occurred with the abutting property.
Okay, Aaron has been dealing with you regarding some wetland involvement?
Yeah, what happened is I purchased the property and cleared some of it out. It was all overgrown and stuff. And when you see the wetlands area, there is a bunch of trash and down in that wetland area, you know, not letting water get through, pipes were, you know, filled in and everything else. So what we did is I had somebody come up and just get all the trash out of there, which I guess was a violation.
See, there's quite a nice pile you took out.
Oh, yeah, it was quite a bit, yeah, quite a bit there. And there's still stuff that remains. I mean, there's broken bottles of glass and stuff that is in there that I wanted to actually, it was gonna get some people who were gonna rake it out of there, but I stopped and left it alone, but it's kind of a hazard. You know, you have little kids around and stuff. Somebody steps in there, they're gonna do a number on themselves, you know.
Well, we have to rely on Aaron, so my suggestion, you work closely with her.
Yep.
And we'll get through this. Okay? You got any other comments?
Yes, I would like to say that I did go out there, and a neighbor asked me to go look what was going on, and the heavy equipment operator was very cooperative. He stopped what he was doing, and he contacted the owner, and I met with the owner the next day, and the owner was cooperative. They put up all sorts of hay bales and so on, and straw mulch and so on. However, I did go out there a few days later with Roman Brzezinski, who he was the executive director before he retired from Southwest Conservation District, and we used him on that violation on Tamarack Swamp Road recently. And he's very good at this kind of thing. So I wanted to go out there with him just to double check my instincts. of what we should do or not do. I didn't know if I had done enough. So he was, so anyway, I wanted his expert advice. So I did go out there and, basically he said, no, pretty good. He gave a few more pointers, which I haven't shared with you yet, Mr. Watasek. That was, he just wanted more hay mulch up above on the uplands because all that red soil is waiting to come down. He wanted to make sure that was stabilized up above where I didn't even ask you to put it. And he also wanted a planting plan for that, as you can see in the photographs, that long open stretch of just raw wetlands. He wanted a planting plan. So I know Mr. Watasek is in the nursery business, so he knows all about plants. So we're going to get together and talk about a planting plan, and also wetland seed, I should mention. In the actual bottom of, you'll see in the photographs, the wet part, the black bottom, open, he suggested wetland seed planting. And that's, they sell it at New England Plants. You're familiar with them? They got the different seed.
Yes.
And that'll bring some nice plants back into there where he had, dredged it out to get all the bottles and stuff out of there. So that's where we're going to go with this.
Good. Super. Very good. Okay? We're all set then. For now, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now, getting back to this notice of violation on number 8. I know Aaron said they requested it to be tabled, but in the packet, they submitted quite an extensive summary and memo, and if I read it correctly, is their executive summary, are they planning to do all the work that they specify here? Plan objectives, I mean, they're going to reseed, core matting, add trees. Is that what their plan is, or you don't know?
That's why they're tabling it. They came, the first time they came to meet with me like 2 weeks ago, it was Sigrun, wasn't all, just wanted to prove to me everything she did in 4 years, so whatever. And I go, look, we need a plan. It's stated in the notice of violation. It's stated very clearly what we need. Just something the commission can look at and say, oh, okay, just trees. So finally, when she met with me 2 days ago, she got the message, and she's going to come in with a plan, just a very simple drawing with trees put in. But I want a plan, a drawing, not just words. I want a drawing that we can hold them.
Okay, but the plan they're drawing is based on this executive summary?
I'm sorry, I don't even, I think, no, the answer is no.
The answer is
That
no.
executive summary was she just went through everything she's done for 5 years. I don't want to hear that. I want to
No,
know.
that, you haven't read the plan, so I don't think it's fair to say that just yet. Because what I've read to the plan, if I read it correctly, and I'm not saying I had, but the extensive planting and work that they have specified here, between and what they've done or not, is really quite an extensive program. And I don't know if this is she just pointed out this may be what they're identifying as what they've done before, or if it's what they're going to plan to do. But I think we're on the right path to get that resolved on that.
If I can just say,
their memo.
to boil it down, really, there's two problems there. One is, in my mind, if you really boil it down, not enough trees, and the other problem is too many invasives. So that's what I stress.
Too many what?
Invasive plants. Now they got mugwort, and they got bittersweet, and the knotweed. So I said, you got to come up with a realistic plan for the invasives. Maybe we should just let them go. I don't know. So they're going to do that. And then they're going to map the trees. They're going to put in silver maples, elms, sycamores. These are floodplain trees.
I will tell you this, though. The plan It's got to be a realistic plan, and that's going to work. It can't be a pie-in-the-sky plan that we go back 2 years from now and it didn't work. It's got to be realistic. Even if you plant knotweed, it's got to be a plan that works.
Like the original plan. Like the original plan was.
Yeah.
All fireworks and everything.
I mean, that was crazy. All right. Okay. Now I put the agenda away. It all
Just
worked
have to
up here.
affirm all the violations.
All right. Okay. Now, I think Janice or Aaron would like the notice of violations to be reconfirmed. I think with the exception of none of them, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we've going to keep them all in effect.
Okay.
Okay, is that a motion to keep them all by 1 through 9 still in effect?
Well, there's a difference between notice of violation and cease and correct order.
Yeah, I'll do it like I did last month.
All right, I don't understand what you're saying.
1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Those are all notices of violation. 2, 3, 6.
Or cease and
Or
desist
cease and
orders.
correct orders.
Yep.
Okay,
I'd like 2 motions.
so
I could do it in one motion like I did last month.
put them together.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the violations in our agenda, number 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 be affirmed, and the cease and correct orders on 2, 3, 6 be also affirmed.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Call for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.